Hey everybody, Ryan Grant here and welcome back to the YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm basically going to be going over with you guys why people quit the gym so early. Now obviously you've got the people that try out the gym, they don't enjoy it and they embark on another physical activity or endeavour or discipline, which is obviously completely respectable. They can do what they want, right? You don't have to go to the gym, right? But I'm talking about the people that actually want to stick to the gym and want to be consistent in the gym and want to improve their bodies and change physically, but they just can't seem to do it. I'm going to explain exactly why in today's video. But before we get into this point, I just want to introduce myself to you guys. So my name is Ryan, I'm 19 years old, and over the past 4 years, I've completely transformed myself in the gym, gaining over 27 kilos in 4 years, and now I'm helping skinny men bulk and gain muscle efficiently and do the same thing that I have through all the knowledge that I've consumed. So in order to help me do this, I've created a free community. Currently got over 200 people in there just like you. So if you want to join, I'll go on more about that later. But without further ado, I don't want to bore you. So let's get into today's video. So the reason why people quit the gym so early is because of their naivety. They have too much optimism because of their naivety, right? And what I mean by this, so an optimist is basically someone who is adamant and confident and hopeful about a future event occurring at a certain, and in this case, a certain time period or within a certain time frame. And what I mean in this situation with people being naive and in turn being too optimistic is people think they're going to get to where they want to go within like the most ridiculous time frame. So, for example, someone may see someone completely jacked in a movie, and they think they're gonna achieve that in like 6 months or 8 weeks, or you see these stupid programs people are selling online where it's like, I'll gain 5 kilos of muscle in 90 days, which obviously you just don't gain 5 kilos of muscle in 90 days. It's just like biologically impossible unless you take steroids. I don't even know if that's possible at that point. But people just don't have an idea, and this is what kills them off. This is why they quit the gym, because they don't have an idea. They haven't woken up to the reality, right, that it takes a long time. And this optimism, it deludes them, right? If they think they can achieve like even my physique or someone online's physique that they like to see, if they think that they can achieve their physique in like the most deluded amount of time because they don't necessarily know how it works, then they're going to be self-sabotaging themselves. They're going to be at the result of their own downfall. So this is a video that is going to wake you up. This is a video where I impart the wisdom to you that is going to save you from this being you. Okay, you are now no longer going to quit the gym because you're not going to be too optimistic and eventually get disappointed when you realize that your optimism is rejected and you don't achieve what you want, and that in turn leads to so many people quitting. That is not going to be you. That's better. I can't click with this hand. But I just want to explain a scenario how optimism actually is so powerful and how it can lead to one quitting the gym if they're too optimistic and they don't live up to their own expectations, right? So I read a book a while ago and I'm definitely going to read it again, and I'm going to leave it in the link in the description because it is a phenomenal book and it has changed it has changed my perception on life quite a bit. So, A Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. I've mentioned this in a couple of videos previously, but this book is genuinely a needle mover. Okay, Viktor E. Frankl was basically, he was held hostage in World War II in a concentration camp called Auschwitz, one of the most notoriously horrible concentration camps in the whole of World War II. And he miraculously survived. Therefore, he wrote this book about his experience in there, and he basically talked about the concept of optimists died first in the concentration camp. So I'll give you this scenario that he talked about. So in Christmas 1944, between Christmas 1944 and New Year 1945, the death rate in the camp absolutely skyrocketed. It went exponentially up, right? And the reason why this is because so many people were optimistic about being released at that certain time, right? Because Christmas and New Year's is about being with family, being together, gifting to other people. It's all, it's a time of joy, right? These people in the concentration camp were so optimistic that they were going to get released around that time because of, the happy, the family, the comforting stigma, and stereotype known around Christmas and New Year, right? And because they were so optimistic and adamant that they were somehow magically going to get released, the closer they got to this time, and the less likely it looked that they were going to get released. Obviously the death rate in the camp skyrocketed, and Viktor E. Frankl actually quoted a guy in the book, and he basically explained the situation like this: the explanation for this increase in the death camp didn't lie in harder working conditions or deterioration of our food supplies or change of weather. The majority lived in naive hope. When their hope got shut down and they lost their courage and the disappointment overcame them and their optimism got rejected, this was a ridiculously dangerous influence on their powers and their will to stay alive, and this obviously led to them and many people in the camp dying, and that's why the death rate skyrocketed, right? And in relation to the gym, it's like if you think you're going to achieve David Lade or maybe my physique even in the space of 6 months, and you're so optimistic and adamant about it to the point where you're so motivated to work hard because of that reason, when you get closer to 6 months and you start to realize that I'm nowhere near, right? That's what kills you, right? That's the optimism that kills you. It's a disappointment that overwhelms you that's going to be a ridiculously powerful influence, and lead you to quit, because that was the only thing you were training for. You thought you were going to achieve that physique in 6 months, and now because you didn't achieve that physique in that ridiculous amount of time that you set yourself, you don't necessarily have the meaning behind why you're doing it anymore. So inevitably, you just quit. And it's the exact same with these guys in the concentration camp. Because they because the time passed that they thought they were going to escape, they no longer had a meaning and a will to live, because they just thought like, if I'm not going to escape now, when? And unfortunately, the death rate skyrocketed, and it's really sad to hear that, because it was around obviously New Year 1945. The war ended, only a handful of months later. So it's a really sad situation, but it's literally the exact same thing with a gym, and it's very, very applicable, right? If you delude yourself and you have too much optimism, you're inevitably going to fail when you realize that your optimism and when you realize you're not going to be able to live up to those expectations because they're really unrealistic, right? So this is how to think, right? You want to be pessimistic about the goals and the time it will take to achieve your goals. However, you want to be optimistic about your abilities and capabilities to achieve them over a prolonged period of time, okay? And if you don't necessarily know what pessimism is, right? It basically just refers to the complete opposite of someone who's optimistic, right? They basically prepare for the worst, and they don't have any optimism. They just prepare for the worst to happen, right? So in this situation, you want to be pessimistic about your goal time and the amount of time it will take to achieve your dream physique, for example. So like adding 2 times or 3 times or even 4 times the amount of time added on than you may initially think in order to achieve your dream physique. So if you may initially think it will take 6 months, which is way too optimistic, you change to being pessimistic about that. So you times 2 that to either 12 months, or you times 3 that to 18 months, or you even times 4 that to 24 months, right? Which actually is a really, really good practice for anything. And whilst you do this, you want to be optimistic in your abilities to be able to achieve this, and however long it takes. And this is the true gateway to staying consistent in the gym, not quitting, and eventually in turn achieving what you want, right? And I want to give you guys a really quick example of how this has happened in my gym journey. Obviously, it didn't make me quit because I'm still here now, but basically, when I was 17 years old, I really wanted to bench 120 kilos for 1 rep, right, before I turned 18. I just wanted to have the ego, the bragging rights. I no longer think like that anymore. But I just really wanted to have those bragging rights and just do it before I was 18, right? And I got so optimistic that I was going to do it, right? I was so optimistic. And then the closer and closer and closer it got to my birthday, I already failed it once, I already failed it twice. And then the very last chest session I did before I turned 18, I tried it, and then I failed it again. So I failed it 3 times before I was 18, which completely killed my optimism. Now, I didn't quit the gym because I personally love the gym, it's a bit different. But that just overwhelmed me with so much disappointment, and I would not want you to, you know, go through the same thing, right? And once I learnt to be pessimistic about the time frame that it would take me to achieve the goal, but optimistic in my capabilities, I no longer gave a fuck about the time frame it would have taken me to bench 120 kilos. And as a matter of fact, I eventually benched 120 kilos like 2-3 months later, and I weighed a lighter body weight. So it was even more impressive. So that just shows, right? The time frame on your goal, especially if you set it as a beginner, which you are going to inevitably be naive about how things work, because obviously if you're a beginner, your knowledge is, you know, is limited, which is, you know, how things work. But as you go, you obviously increase your knowledge. But I'm going off topic. Just be pessimistic about the time frame and optimistic about your abilities. So that's basically the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. I do really appreciate your time, and I really hope this lesson is installed into your mind. I hope it's clear, because this is truly a needle mover, right? Be pessimistic about the time frame, but optimistic about your capabilities. As I said at the beginning of the video, if you want my help beyond these YouTube videos, the free community is going to be the top link in the description. There's training videos on there of obviously me going through key principles and helping beginners build their foundations on obviously what you need to do in order to make progress. You can hop on a one-to-one call with me. There's a workout program in there that the guys are liking, that will, you know, more may be added soon. And there's also videos of me actually training on that workout program with exclusive tips and tricks of each exercise. So basically every single ground is covered in there, from what you need to do in order to go from skinny to sculpted. So I would absolutely love to see you in there, and I'd absolutely love to help you. It's going to be the top link in the description, as I said. However, if you can hear my dog, I'm very sorry about that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a thumbs up, comment down below anything you found interesting, and if you want to stay around, I upload every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, so that would mean a lot. Genuinely, that would really mean a lot if I can help you and if you subscribe to me. But without further ado, I'll see you next time. I'm going pretty insane because I filmed about 5 YouTube videos in a row, and the weather outside is ridiculously sunny, so I'm going to go out there, edit these videos, get a tan. See you later.